Okay, we made it to level 3. Now, let's take a look at the system and see what makes this different from level 2. I notice first there's not like a negative and a positive of the same number, right? So it's not going to be like level 1 where I can just add them. And so then I say, okay, well, let's look. What can I multiply 2 by to get 3? There's not, well, it's a decimal I have to do, right? What can I multiply 4 by to get 5? Oh, still nothing, right? So the issue that makes this level 3 as opposed to level 2 is that this time we actually have to adjust both equations, right? We're going to have to multiply both equations by something in order to change them into something that would allow us to eliminate. So there's a lot of ways you could do this. You could multiply in a way that gets the y's to cancel out. You could multiply in a way that gets the x's to cancel out, right? But you just have to choose one. And so one thing I could do is, for example, I could multiply, and don't write anything yet. So let me show you your options, and then you could just choose one. If I multiply this by negative 2, that'll be negative 2 times 3, which would be negative 6. And then I could multiply this by 3, and that would be positive 6, right? So that's one option. And then the x's will cancel. Another option is I could multiply this equation by 5, and that'll be positive 20. And I can multiply this equation by 4. Then that'll be negative 20. And the y's will cancel. Both have their benefits, right? With this case, I'm multiplying by positives. Positives are nice. And with this one where I was multiplying by 2 and 3, the numbers are just a little bit smaller. And small numbers are great too. So either one is fine. I'm going to just do this one because I wrote it, and it's already on my paper. But feel free, if you want, you could, if you feel like you're ready for a challenge and do something different than me, you could multiply, right, by 2 and 3 and make one of them negative. Because if you just multiply by 2 and a 3, you'll have positive 6x and positive 6x, and those don't cancel, right? You need one to be negative. Okay, but I'm going to do the 5 and the 4. Feel free to just do that. So 5 times 3x is 15x, and 5 times 4 is 20, and 5 times 6 is 30. Next one, 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times negative 5 is negative 20, right? And this is where I get what's going to eliminate. And 4 times negative 19, and again, feel free to just use your calculator here if you're not comfortable with it, is negative 76. Okay, now we're ready to add our equations, right? This is going to cancel. 15 plus 8 is 23x. And 30 minus 76 is a positive and negative, so we subtract. And keep this on the larger number, which is 76. I'm going to divide by 23. And again, right, feel free to use your calculator for this. There's a lot of steps, so you don't need to add mental math in there if you're uncomfortable with it. We get x equals negative 2. And then I need to plug back in to an equation to find my y value. I'm just going to choose the one with, smaller positive numbers, right? So 3 times negative 2 plus 4y equals 6. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. In order to get rid of that, I'm going to add 6 to both sides. And then when I divide by 4, I get y equals 3. And that one's done. Next one. Pause for a second and see if you can figure out what to multiply these by. So again, I kind of have a similar set of options. I noticed that there's a positive and a negative y. So what I could do is I could multiply, if I multiply this bottom one by 6, I'll get negative 42. And the top one by 7, I'll get positive 42, right? That's kind of what I did here. I just multiplied this bottom one by 4 and this top one by 5. But remember my other option? I'll use the other option this time. I'll take care of the x's. I'll eliminate those. So what do I have to do here? Well, I'll multiply this by 3, and that'll get me a 6 here. So let's do that first. Right? This is going to be 6x 3 times 6 is 18. And 3 times 4 is 12. Now, what can I multiply this equation by to make it cancel? Well, if this is a 6x, I need this down here to be a negative 6x. So 3 times what is negative 6? Well, it's going to have to be a negative 2. So I'm going to multiply. That's negative 6x. Negative times a negative is a positive. And negative times positive is a negative. This cancels. 18 plus 14 is 32. Yep. And it doesn't really matter, actually, it turns out, because 12 minus 12 is 0. So, divided by 32, y is still 0. So I know my y value is 0. Plug in and find my x value. Again, I'm just going to choose one and plug in, right? 2x plus 6 times 0 equals 4. This just becomes 2x equals 4. And when I divide by 2, I get x equals 2. And there we go. All right, your turn to try. This takes time. Take the time to look at the equation and figure out what are you going to multiply by in order for it to cancel.